Hello, welcome. This is Sandrine from Savoir-Faire Women's Nutrition. Today I'm talking about sugar cravings, why we get them and what to do to start reducing them. Because let's face it, they're not very pleasant, and sometimes you could be working really hard to eat well and move your body, and you still get those cravings. So understanding where they come from, why you get them, is your body telling you something, will help you to address them and to find the right solution for you. Okay, so 3 reasons why you may be getting sugar cravings. Number 1 is to actually ask yourself whether you eat enough. I know it sounds very basic, but this is one question I do ask, in my practice. And by looking at a food diary, you can actually see if perhaps you're missing meals. It happens, we're busy, we're running around after our families, making food, takes time. So actually filling in a food diary, just a couple of days, just to see how you spread out your food during the day. Okay, so first question is, are you eating enough? Because if you're not, you will be craving foods, okay? Because your body's hungry, so that's completely normal. Number 2 is, could you be deficient in some vitamins or minerals? It kind of links back to number 1, because if you don't eat enough, then you're highly likely to be deficient in some vitamins or minerals. Now, there's 2 things that we tend to be, or people tend to be deficient in when they get cravings, and particularly sugar cravings. Number 1 is fat. I know some people are still a bit worried about fat, but actually we need some to function really well. Our body is made of 60% fat, good fat, of course. And I'm going to give you a list of symptoms that you may get if you don't have enough fat in your diet, okay? So symptoms like digestive issues, bloating, mood issues. We need fat for our brains. So when we have, mood issues, it could be because we are too low in omega-3, okay? That's the good fat that we need in the body. We also need the others, but in lesser quantities. Other symptoms, low immunity. I think that's quite important at the moment with everything that is going on. Brittle hair, brittle nails, fatigue, brain fog again, in obviously cravings, and binge eating, feeling like you can't stop eating, and weight gain. I know it sounds a bit counterintuitive, thinking you're not eating enough fat and you're putting on weight, but it's the right fat, okay? The second thing to think about, about deficiencies, is whether you eat enough protein, all right? So again, symptoms of protein deficiencies could be fatigue, hair loss, sweet cravings. Obviously, this is what this talk is about. Mood fluctuation, poor memory, and poor digestion, muscle loss. The list goes on, okay? So number 2, could you be deficient in vitamins and minerals? 2 ways of checking that. Number 1 is, again, by filling out a food diary. I can help you assess whether you're eating enough of all the different food groups, your protein, your carbs, your healthy fat, your fruit and vegetables, to have enough antioxidants and vitamins. Number 2, if you don't want to guess, is just a test, okay? GPs can do this. They might not be willing to do it unless you've got a health condition. So another way of doing it, if you feel that you're not feeling quite right and you want to know what's going on, is to do a private test, okay? And I can help with that. Now, the third reason why you may be getting sugar cravings is perhaps because your gut, your digestive system, is not quite happy. So how does this work? Well, as you probably know, we have an enormous range of bacteria in our gut. And it's all about the balance of this bacteria. And this whole thing is called a microbiome. So we have good bacteria that helps us stay healthy, boosts our immune system, and just generally keeps us, all our different body functions, healthy. And then we have bad bacteria. And it's all about balance. We have a bit of both. But sometimes the bad bacteria take over, and they are the ones that make you crave sugar, the bad bacteria. And there is something called candida or yeast overgrowth, which is a condition where the bad bacteria take over and really makes you crave sugar. So again, you know, by chatting, by looking at your symptoms, looking at your diary and how you feel, we can work out whether, you know, you need more testing or if we can address that. And this is something I do a lot, is address gut issues in my practice. So now, if you are getting those sugar cravings, you know, before investigating, before doing tests, there are things that you can do now to see if it helps, okay? And I always start with food in my practice, always, always. And also adding some supplements can help too. But food, you know, eating the right food for your body will make a huge difference to the way you feel. So tip number 1 is adding protein at every meal, okay? And that includes breakfast as well. So if you're someone who loves having cereals for breakfast, great, but just add some nuts and seeds and also some berries for antioxidants. But the key thing is protein, adding protein for breakfast, okay? And then of course, if you have lunch, you know, perhaps you may have a soup, just make sure there's some kind of protein in there to make you feel full for longer. And then of course your dinner. I think most people do include protein at their dinner, but the challenging one might be lunch, because it's easy to grab something on the go, and even if it's a sandwich, you know, make sure there's some kind of protein in there, or just add something to the side, you know, a few nuts, some seeds, maybe a natural yogurt. And then if you need a snack in the afternoon, again, the winning combination for energy and for beating the sugar cravings is to have some protein, some healthy fat, and of course some fiber, okay? So that's your veggies and your fruit. So protein at every meal, that should really help reduce cravings. Healthy fat at every meal, so same idea, you know? What do I mean by healthy fat? That's your olive oil, your avocado, your nuts and seeds, oily fish. Okay, you may not want to eat fish for breakfast, but you can definitely have a few seeds on your cereals. And then tip number 3 is to, of course, eating enough. You know, just looking at, you know, when do you have most of your food? If you tend to have a bigger dinner and then maybe you don't eat a huge amount between breakfast and dinner, maybe rebalance, you know, shift your food intake more towards the morning and lunch, so that you have that energy, you have that fuel to keep you going all afternoon, okay? And your dinner doesn't need to be very big. I know in England, people tend to have a warm or hot dinner in the evening and something cold, usually for lunch. But yeah, in terms of amount, you know, look at the size of your portions. Do shift probably some from your dinner to your lunch, and you will feel more energized in the afternoon, and probably avoid that kind of big energy dip. And that's when we feel like, you know, we want sugar, because our brain is tired and it needs more energy. All right, so that's tip number 3, eating enough. Tip number 4 is to eating regularly. So that's exactly what I've just said, you know, making sure you have 3 meals in the day. Now, you may have heard of intermittent fasting. That's a great way of eating. For some people, it just means that you're eating within a set window during the day. So, you know, in an ideal world, you'd want your body to rest for a good 12 to 14 hours, so without any food. So say, for example, your last meal is at 6, 7 o'clock, then you don't want to eat until, say, 11, 12 o'clock the next day. For some people it works, for some it doesn't. You know, some people need their breakfast first thing in the morning. I do, personally. So look at when do you want to have your 3 main meals. A breakfast, even if it's kind of brunch, you know, 10, 11, depending if you can fit that in with work. And then your next meal, and then your 3rd meal. Okay, so 3 meals a day. And some people may need a snack in between those 2, probably those 2 last meals. But the key thing is to eat really well 3 times a day. And then the final tip is, if this is not working and you think there is something not quite right, especially if you experience any kind of digestive discomfort, bloating, gas, reflux, all these sorts of things, then testing may really give you some answers. And then you can address those issues and feel great again. So I hope this was useful. And if you have any questions, please post them below, and I'll see you very soon. Thank you. Bye bye.